Welcome to our tutorial on how to process and correct W-2s with Sage BusinessWorks. The course today will go over how to edit W-2 totals, how to use the W-2 grid, and how to correct a W-2 after it has been filed. The Enhanced Tax Reporting allows printing of all your state and federal forms, including new hire reports. All customers that have a current client care plan will have access to the Enhanced Tax Reporting software. Through Enhanced Tax Reporting, you can print forms for all states. You can print the W-2 on pre-perforated plain paper in the 4-up format for the employee copy. The 1099s and most state forms can also be printed on plain paper, as long as it's signature ready. So the federal 1099 forms will require the red form, as is the 1096 will require the red form. In addition, you will be able to preview the forms prior to printing. All payroll forms are saved and are available for reprinting even after the year is closed. The federal W-2s can be e-filed for free with Atrix, and that's the company we've partnered with to do the forms, or for an additional fee, other state and federal forms can be e-filed. You do have to sign up with Atrix to e-file the forms. You must sign up for e-filing by going to efile.atrix.com and then selecting the Enroll tab. This site will have information on the programs as well as fees and schedules for the e-filing. To print W-2s for the employees, you will need to purchase the 4-up pre-perforated forms. The federal, state, and employer copies can be printed directly to plain paper. Also, don't forget to purchase the envelopes designed for the 4-up format. You can purchase the blank perforated forms from Sage by going to our Checks and Forms website or by calling us toll-free at 800-538-5514. 1099s will require that the federal copy be printed on the red form still, but the recipient and state copies are printed on 4-up perforated paper. The payer copy can be printed on plain paper. And the 1096 still requires the red form as well. But the state copy can be printed on plain paper. It's just the federal copy that requires the red form. Let's go ahead and take a look at a live demonstration. Just remember, to print W-2s in payroll, you're going to go to Payroll, Taxes, and Print W-2 Forms. This will begin using the Enhanced Tax Reporting software to allow you to work with your W-2s. If the update has not yet been installed that includes the 2016 tax forms, go ahead and select the 2015 W-2 W-3 form. Select the appropriate tax year. Because we're using sample, it will be 2010, and then go ahead and hit OK. If the form update has been released, which usually occurs around the 20th of December, you will get prompted to install an automatic update, as we did here. Go ahead and click Automatic Update to get that forms update. And then it's going to go out and connect to the update server in order to process the update. You might get a user account control message. Go ahead and say yes. And then it's going to continue to go through and look at what forms need to be updated. When it's done looking at what forms need to be updated, you'll get a client update list. Go ahead and click Next, and now it will perform the forms update. When the forms update is complete, you will get a message that asks you if you want to close the updater. So we're going to click Close. And then it's going to continue to process the enhanced tax reporting. You will receive this message about the W-2 company information, and it's just to let you know any changes you make to the company information, company name, address, etc., will only be used going forward for the W-2s. I'm going to go ahead and say OK. And then it's going to ask you how you want to run through your W-2s. You can run through as a test drive with only your first 25 employees, or a test drive with all employees. If you choose either of these options, any changes that you make will not be included if you exit out of the screen and go back in again. So to allow our changes to confirm, we're going to click No Thanks, Start Processing My W-2. We're going to verify that our company FEIN number is correct. If that does need to be changed, you just need to go into Payroll, Utilities, Maintain Payroll Parameters, and you would make the change right here on that screen and then go back through the company information again. That is the correct number, so we're going to go ahead and hit Next. And here is where it's going to verify the company name, the trade name, and the address information. We need to ensure here that in address line 1 there is a number within that field. So if you have a doing business as name, we just need to make sure that that's actually in the second line or under trade name, and that the actual address 1 is your actual address. You go ahead and hit Next. It's going to ask you what type of preparer type you are, and I'm going to say that I'm filing for my company because I'm not a third-party tax preparer. So we're going to go ahead and hit Next again. Here is where you're going to verify your state and local tax items. You see here we've got the California state tax items. If you needed to add additional states, you could hit Add under the state, choose the state, and then select the tax name that you want to add, and then you would come up and enter the tax account number. And this format here with the question marks is going to tell you what the number format needs to be. So if you have your number, you're going to go ahead and enter that in there and hit OK, and then you're going to hit Next to continue. On the data verification screen, you need to read through all 5 of these questions, and if your company falls under that category, you would go ahead and say yes to the message. In this instance, we're going to say no, and we're going to go ahead and continue. This is the W-3 information, which the only required question that you answer is the kind of payer and kind of employer. So we need to have the kind of payer filled out, and the kind of employer needs to be selected as well. And then we're going to go ahead and hit Next. This is going to ask you if you're going to be merging multiple payroll data files. In this instance, we are not going to merge data files between companies, but if you did, you need to make sure that all the companies that you're merging together have the same federal tax ID number. You cannot merge companies that do not have the same federal account numbers. So we're going to go ahead and hit Next. And what this is going to bring up is what we refer to as the Enhanced Tax Reporting Grid. As you notice, it's going to have the totals in a grid-like format. And then you're going to see the employees, you're going to see their totals, and you're going to see a few things like a preview button. This preview button allows you to preview the W-3 prior to printing. What we're going to do as we progress through each step in the preparer is hit the Next button to run the validation check. So we're going to hit Next, and now it's going to verify any items that are in box 13. Something to note is if you do have this box 13 checked for retirement plan, there needs to be a total in the 12D or 12S column. If it does see any items that that do not meet that criteria, you will receive this error message here. This is a required item, so we do have to hit Go Back and Correct. And then we have to make sure that we have the checkbox in there for the retirement plan. It's going to continue to go through and validate the totals. And if there is an item that does not meet the validation, again, it will throw up the error message, and then you must go back and correct that prior to continuing. Okay, and we'll hit next step again. And now what it's going to do is it's going to have you validate what's in the state tax ID numbers. As you see, I'm going to move the screen over a little bit. You'll see the California wages and such. We're going to go ahead and hit next step. And now it's going to bring you into the W-2 1099 preparer. One item that we do have is we do have an early bird filing special for if you're using enhanced tax reporting and you do e-file early and do the complete processing. And that's where Atrix will print and mail your W-2s. They'll e-file your federal W-2, W-3. They'll do any state W-2s and reconciliation files if they're required. And then they'll do your employer W-2. So we'll go ahead and hit next. And here's where you would choose to either do the complete e-filing service, or in our case we're going to do other options, and we're going to choose to print the employee W-2s. We are not going to e-file the federal. We're going to print the federal, and then you notice now when you print the federal W-2s, we're automatically going to print the employer W-2. So we're going to go ahead and hit next. And this is again telling you a little bit more about the complete W-2 e-file service, and we're going to hit next. And this is to select if you want to use divider sheets or not. We're going to go ahead and hit next. And this is going to confirm what you are about to print. So we're going to go ahead and hit next to continue. And now this is going to show us what our W-2 form is going to look like. Things to note is up here in the header bar where it says Report 1 of 4 Employee W-2s. This is very important as it's telling you which copy of the form you're about to print. So as you notice with the Employee W-2s, all the forms will have the same employee information in it per page. When you're ready to print, go ahead and click Print Final. It's going to tell you to insert your perforated W-2 paper. That's 4-part. And then it's going to bring up the printer information screen. And when you're ready to print and have the correct printer, you're going to go ahead and say OK to print. And when that's complete, you can go ahead and hit Next Step. And that's going to, as you notice, bring you up to the Employer W-2. That Employer W-2 is going to allow you to print each copy for your employee. It's going to have 1 employee per square, and it's going to allow, once you print that item, you can continue on to your next step. And when you continue on to that next step, it's going to bring you into the federal W-2 form. Now, the federal W-2 form is 2 per page and can be printed directly to your printer. There is no special paper required. You're going to, with the other ones, when you're ready to print, you're going to click Print Final, and you're going to continue with that print. Once you're finished printing the W-2, it will bring up the W-3 file, and of course it says it up here at the top. You're going to go ahead and print that file, and once that's printed, your forms will be complete. And then once it's complete, it will bring you back to the history file options. At this point, you could reprint any completed W-2s. You can e-file or print incomplete W-2s. You can correct completed W-2s, or you can choose to start over. One common thing that users may run into is that, let's say they printed the employee and the employer copy, but they forgot to print the federal copy. And you'll see on the screen, in this case, we did not print the federal copy, so we're going to choose to e-file or print incomplete W-2s and hit Next. This will now give us the same options where we can choose to print that federal W-2 or W-3. This would only show items that have not yet been printed, so that's why we're only seeing the federal here. So you'd continue into next through and you'd print the forms the same way you did previously. Same option for the reprint. If you go to reprint the forms, it's going to give you what forms are available to be reprinted. You can choose to reprint all employees, just some employees, or the employer copy, because that's what we've currently printed. Another option you have is to correct a completed W-2. So we're going to select that option and hit next. It's going to ask us if we've distributed any of our forms. Since we have not distributed any, we're just going to click the continue button. And then it's going to bring us back into the enhanced tax reporting grid. Now in this instance, what we're going to do is we're going to add a box. Maybe say we forgot to put a box 12D in. So what you can do is anywhere in this section where it shows the box numbers, you can right click on it and go to insert column. This is where you're going to give the column a name. So in this case we'll put in 12D and then we'll hit OK to continue. What you will see is that a new column has been added to the grid. The next step you have to do is you have to click the drop down arrow and then select what box you want to assign that to. And in this case we're going to go to box 12 and here are all the options for box 12. And we're going to click box 12D and that's going to become our new field. Now if we wanted to add a value into that box 12D, we're just going to click into the square and then we're going to type in how much that value would be. Now that will reprint a corrected copy of the W-2. Same is going to be as if you need to make a change to any of the wages for federal or state or tax amounts. You're just going to click into the field and you're going to type the amount that it needs to be. So let's say this needs to be $352 even. We would make the adjustment there. When it's complete, you're going to hit next. It is going to run through all the validation checks as it has before. So in this case, because we added a value to 12D, we need to go back and check box 13. We're going to select that box 13 and continue through again. And then once it's complete, it's going to bring you back into the printing options. We're going to verify that we're going to print the employee W-2. And then you'll notice here that we have the corrected copy of the W-2. Now you'll notice as well it is only going to print the information on there for the employee that has changed, and in this instance, since we've not submitted it, it's going to include all the fields on the report. If this were a corrected W-2 after it has been submitted, only the items that are changing would be filled in on the W-2. Another thing that needs to be done after the W-2s and W-3s have been printed is you need to make sure that your W-3 can reconcile. One thing that you're going to do is you are going to reconcile the totals to the grid to the 941s for the year. The W-3 compiles all the totals for each box on the W-2, and the W-3 should match the total amounts on each line of the 941 report for all 4 quarters. If there is a discrepancy, then either one or more of the 941s will need to be amended, or the employee totals will need to be adjusted so that the W-2 reflects the reported 941 amounts. This can be done using the grid and enhanced tax reporting, and that we recommend that you print the W-2 to blank paper as well as the W-3 first, and then reconcile them before printing the actual W-2 and W-3 for the filing. You're going to verify the W-2 wages, add up the amount on line 2, which is wages, tips, and other compensation, on each of the 4 quarterly 941s. You're going to compare this total to the box 1 total of the W-3. They should agree. If they do not agree, you will need to reconcile the information. If one or more of the 941 forms was filed with incorrect information, you will need to amend the 941 form. If the 941 forms are correct, then you will need to edit one or more of the employee totals on the W-2 grid. It's best to make sure that these agree now. If they do not, you will get a notice from the IRS in a few months, and then you will need to address the differences then. Be sure to reconcile the W-2 and W-3 information before submitting. And that's the end of our live demonstration. So I just want to give you a few final year-end reminders. Always back up prior to closing your year by selecting File and then Backup. Please do not install the tax table update prior to printing all year-end reports and W-2s. Before printing the first check of the new year, verify that you're using your current tax tables. Also, make sure that you've updated the SDI and SUI rates in payroll taxes activate states. Make sure that you review and edit any employee information to ensure that they have the current pay rates, deductions, and other pays. And verify that the vacation and sick pay totals and rates are correct for the coming year. I just want to thank you for taking this time to view our tutorial and hope you have enjoyed the session. Thank you.